obviously you're gonna need a job, maybe even two. Hey y'all, it's Thomasina. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share some quick tips on how to find work in New York so that you're financially stable in the city. As you all know, New York is super expensive, so finding a job is vital before coming to New York. And even if you, worst case scenario, you have to move first and then find a job later, hopefully these tips will give you the best success and the quickest turnaround time on snagging a job. So let's jump right into it. My first tip for you all would be to, if you plan on moving to New York, I highly recommend that you find a job before relocating. It just makes the whole relocation process easier. It provides stability. It'll also make finding an apartment easier because you'll be able to provide proof of income and an employment letter and everything like that. You are currently employed in another state other than New York. Your first step is to see if that job offers relocation. So let's say that you work at Planet Fitness in North Carolina. You want to check out the Planet Fitness locations in New York to see if they would allow you to just transfer over. That way you don't even have to go through an entire new hiring process. You can just transfer everything and start once you move up here. If your job does not offer a transfer, that's when you know you need to begin looking for a new job. Some of these sources that have job listings are places like Craigslist, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Indeed, and just Google job search depending on your field of interest. I've had the most luck in past experiences with Indeed. Indeed has so many options and it allows you to narrow down your search. So if you're looking for part-time work in Brooklyn, it'll narrow down all those searches. If you're looking for full-time remote work, you can type that in and it'll narrow down all those searches. So Indeed, I think, is super useful for really diving in and pinpointing exactly what type of work that you want. Now, Google searching job positions and Craigslist, I think those are more broad search engines. And then with LinkedIn, I found out the job options on LinkedIn either require a higher skill set, so depending on like if you have, whether or not you have a degree, whether or not you have a certification, that's going to determine how eligible you are for the positions that are on LinkedIn. Facebook, you can just type in NYC jobs, and businesses and individual, like private businesses, will post positions on Facebook as well, and you can just reach out to them via the way that they've requested. That's pretty much it. And once you have determined which search engines work best for you in terms of finding positions to apply for, the next step would be to actually apply. So in order to make yourself the most marketable, because New York is fast-paced as well as very competitive in pretty much every job field there is out here. So you want to make sure you're the most marketable person for the position, and you want to increase your chances of snagging that job. This boils down to the resume, because that's what's going to get your foot in the door, and then ultimately you just have to nail that interview. So with the resume and the cover letter, if you are relocating to New York, you have the option of putting a New York address on your resume or putting that you're relocating to New York. If you put on your resume a New York address, they're gonna assume that you are based in New York, and so if they say, oh, can you come in for an interview tomorrow, they're gonna assume that you can make that because they're thinking that you are already in New York. With that, you have to be careful, because if you don't have a quick access to get to New York to get to these interviews, you probably don't want to list a New York address, because then that just gets wonky. If you want to take the honest route, I would recommend putting on your resume, and where you would put your address, put relocating to New York, and in your cover letter, tell them that you're relocating to New York, and give them like if you've set a timeline for yourself of when you plan to be in New York by, give them that date. So I'm relocating to New York by March and looking for full-time work. So you want to be very specific, and you want to be honest because it's easier for them to work with you if you're honest. If you let them know that you're not currently in New York but you're in North Carolina, it will give them a little bit more leeway when scheduling your in-person interview, or they may even give you the option to give a Skype interview or a phone interview. That's another thing you want to do. You want to establish a timeline for yourself. When do you expect to be in New York? When do you plan to have made the move? Because if you have a job in your current state, you want to give yourself time to put in your 2 weeks notice and clear up any loose ends at that job. You also want to give yourself time to travel back and forth if you need to travel, like for interviews and stuff. And if the job is interested in you and they ask you when can you start, you need to be able to tell them when you can start. So it's so important for you to have a timeline for yourself. And of course the timeline may shift here and there, but just for like application processes and everything like that, you want to set a clear timeline because it makes it easier for the people that are potentially hiring you. You want to be readily available for these job interviews. Don't apply for a job if you know, oh, you're going to be on vacation or the next 2 weeks. Don't apply for a job if you know like your current job is going to be really, really hectic for the next 2 weeks. You want to apply knowing that if they call you for an interview, you can make it there. You want to make sure that you're readily available, because if this is what you want, you have to be serious about it, because they don't have time to be fooling around with you because you're not in that state. There are plenty of applicants that are already in New York that they could select from. So you need to make sure your application stands out, your application is the strongest, like, because why would we choose you over someone who's already in the city, you know? So yeah, make yourself super competitive. New York is all about the hustle. There's always going to be a way to make money. Legally, there's always going to be a legal way to make money. So even if you do snag a job up here and you feel that you want to have more money, more extra spending money, you can always pick up a side hustle. So you can do things like Postmates, Uber and Lyft are really big up here. You can do brand ambassador gigs. You can do nannying on the side. There's a cool site called Sitter City where you can sign up to nanny and walk dogs and clean homes if you're into that type of thing. Just a way to make quick money. You can do promotional work for businesses, and Facebook also has a lot of babysitting and nannying groups. So there's always a way to make money. Some people even pay people to help them move furniture from their house. So if you're up for that, there are group me's that people will put those ads out there, and you just reach out to them if that's something that you're interested in. It's all about the hustle. It's all about being quick on your feet. It's all about making sure that you are the most marketable person. You have the most competitive resume. You have the most competitive skill set, and you just want to show them why you're the right person for the job. So yeah, short and sweet and to the point. If you have any more questions that I did not cover in this video in regard to how to apply to jobs, how to get work in New York, please comment down below and I'll be sure to respond as quickly as possible. As always, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next video. Free.